What if I told you you've been making the same horrible mistake every time he pulls away from you? But what if I also told you if you just made a few small adjustments, this could go from being a disaster for you to being an opportunity for you to show him something very important? If that sounds like something you want to do, perfect. Because on today's show, we're going to be discussing mistakes you must avoid when you feel him pulling away from you. That way, you never get baited into chasing a man ever again. First things first, the desire to make a call out message. You think, when I send this big long message, usually a text message or a call in some cases, it's essentially gonna be like a mirror to him, where he's gonna see himself in this mirror here, and he's gonna know how much of a bad person he is. Okay, this is like, pretend this is like devil horns, all right? When he looks in that mirror after you send him this big long text message, calling him out and explaining to him all the bad ways he's hurting you, all the ways he's pulling away from you and making you feel sad and making you feel unappreciated and how you don't like it and how you want this to change. And you think that when he notices this, all of a sudden, right? When you hold up that mirror, you think that's going to inspire change. Only once you send that message, right, thinking that this is all going to fix everything, do you realize afterwards that sending that message either doesn't get you a response, or when you send that message, all he does is make excuses, but still nothing changes. So if sending him this call out message doesn't help him see himself in the mirror and help him make a change, what actually inspires change in men? You're probably asking and probably wondering, okay? For men, they change only and solely for the purpose of necessity. Now, what does that really mean? See, men are not changing their behavior because they love you so much and they think it's the right thing to do. That's not why they make changes, unfortunately. Men make changes when they realize that they are not going to be happy with the result or their life if they don't make a change. Essentially, they only make a change when they're forced to make a change. And when do they feel forced to make a change? When it affects their life directly. So if they aren't getting access to someone that they want to get access to, then they'll make a change. If they feel like they're losing out on a woman who they don't want to lose out on, then they make a change. If they feel like you've become uninterested or maybe you're moving on, then they make a change. They do not make a change simply because you send them a call out message explaining to them all the ways that that they're doing you wrong in this current moment. That's the problem. When men pull away from you, there's nothing that says within him that he needs to adjust his behavior, especially if he notices you start to reach out to him more and you start to take a step forward, okay? Point number 2. Let me explain this in a visual so we can all be on the same page, okay? So let's imagine you're at a bar, and at this bar, you're over here by the drink table and you're standing here by the bar and he's over here, you know, on the other side. So let's just also say his boys are here as well, okay? So he's got his stick figure side character boys here. Maybe he's the team leader, okay? Now, this bar isn't your usual spot, meaning this isn't the spot that you regularly go to on the weekends or you enjoy spending your time. Maybe it's a little bit out of your area. Maybe it's just not your vibe. But what you do know is that this guy that you like, right, and that has been pulling away from you, regularly comes to this spot with his friends. So when this guy starts pulling away from you, you have in your mind, hey, maybe if I show up at this bar that he regularly goes to, he'll notice me, right? And when he notices me with his buddies, he'll remember how beautiful I am. He'll remember how amazing I am. He'll remember how much he wants me. He'll approach me and then he'll stop pulling away from me. Let me explain to you why this is a horrible, horrible mistake and this will always go wrong. See, this is the thing. When you come to the bar, you are physically present. So what you want out of this situation is you want him to see you, right? But what you don't realize is even though physically he can see you, he's not really seeing you. What do I mean by he's not really seeing you? He's seeing your physical presence, but he's not seeing your aura. He's not seeing your value. He's not seeing why you are an important person in his life that he should be investing in, maintaining a relationship with, be caring about your happiness, right? He's not actually seeing you for who you really are. He's seeing you present, right? So he might come up to you and have some little chit chat with you because he sees you there. And he might try to sleep with you since you're already at the bar, but he's not actually taking notice of who you are. So you want to know what happens when you come to this bar and you pull up on him thinking that this is going to inspire him remembering you and noticing you. What ends up happening is while he might chit chat with you casually, he goes right back to pulling away from you as he once was before. And now you're more frustrated because you're feeling like, hey, I thought me coming to this bar would have you remember who I am. And when you remember who I am, you would go back to talking to me again like before. What you have to understand about men, and this is going to be a little bit unfortunate for you because when you hear this from me, you might be a little bit sad. What you have to understand about men is when he's talking to you for any period of time, I don't care if he only goes on one single date with you. When he goes on a date with you or he's spending any period of time with you one-on-one, he does not wake up one day magically after a few days and just forget that you exist in this world. This is a mistake that you make, but it's a narrative that your mind convinces you of to try to justify your actions and leads to more mistakes. I know these guys will like to get you to believe that they're super busy to the point where they can barely even breathe. But I want you to understand they never are so busy that all the brain space taken up by their busyness leads them to forget the fact that they just met you a couple of days ago or they've been taking you out on a couple of days and now all of a sudden they haven't been speaking to you, okay? The reason I say that is I don't want the narrative in your own mind to start playing where you convince yourself of the idea that, hey, since he has stopped talking to me, it's because he may have forgotten about me. But it's not because he just doesn't have interest in me or because he just doesn't have the intention with me required to like actually date me. And when you play that narrative in your mind, you begin to justify things like this, right? You begin to justify things like pulling up to remind him that you exist because you think it's not about the lack of interest. It's not about the fact that, maybe he actually just doesn't want to date me, or maybe he actually doesn't have the level of intentionality required for a boyfriend, right? It's just because he forgot innocently. They're not just going to see you after not speaking to you or after pulling away from you and say, wow, now that I've seen her for the first time in a while, now all of a sudden I want to invest in her. They might see you and get horned up. Okay, right? He might see you at this club and his pee-pee might be standing up here, okay, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that after he sees you at this bar or at this club, that all of a sudden he's now realizing, hey, now the girl that I was pulling away from is actually the girl that I want to be with, okay? Because remember, like I said at the very beginning, the men aren't inspired to change simply because you beg them to change or beg them to do something different. They're inspired to change when they realize it's a necessity in order to change their own situation, their own life, or their own relationship, right? It always comes back to self for men, unfortunately, right? And if they're not realizing how making a change will serve them or change their situation, then they're not really that interested in making a change. Point number 3 is this is a Gen Z one, okay? So this is for all of you people on the younger side, and even actually those of you on the older side probably might suffer from this. Let's say this guy pulls away from you and you're noticing he stopped talking to you for a while and you're noticing that he doesn't seem to have as much interest as he once did with you. And you're scrolling through your Instagram and you see a beautiful Justin LeBoy quote, okay? For those of you that know, you know, okay? Justin LeBoy quote just means Justin LeBoy is an Instagram page where he posts things, toxic, relationship things, right? So an example of a Justin LeBoy quote, right, would just be, it's on a blank screen and it would say, so it would be something like being single is the best feeling or is so much fun, right? I'm so single, it hurts, but I actually love it, right? Something along those lines, right? Just to kind of crystallize the fact, and you would post that just to kind of crystallize the fact that, yo, I'm feeling good about me. I'm not worried about you. Now, I'm not saying this quote necessarily is a bad thing, but I'm saying that posting this in order to be like, hey, look how unbothered I am. Look how much fun I'm having being single, even though we just went on a couple of dates, and even though you can find my Hinge profile right now on Hinge or on Bumble or on Tinder, right? But being single is literally the best feeling. And you're thinking, hey, when I post this, he's gonna DM me. He's gonna send me a message and he's gonna be like, oh, so you're single now. Oh, so you're enjoying life without me now. Oh, so you forgot about me now. And you're thinking, oh, this is perfect reverse psychology. I'm going to flip it on him by posting this quote. When I post this quote, he's going to realize what he's done to me. He's going to realize how he mistreated me. And he's going to be tearing, tears are going to be streaming down his face. He's going to say, no, I can't lose my princess. I don't want her to be single. I want to be with her. It's a useless waste of your time. Makes you look hurt, makes you look bothered, and it doesn't accomplish what I want you to be accomplishing, which is not to be hurt or bothered. You do not want men to ever, ever, ever get the feeling that when they pull away from you, that it bothers you, or you're discombobulated, or your life is less now because he takes a step back from you, right? Because you're thinking that this, right, all of this stuff right here is going to make him sad. But what you don't realize is that when you do all of this, right, it doesn't actually make him sad, it makes him happy. Now, I'm not saying he's happy because he likes to see you posting stuff about being single. I'm saying he's happy because his ego is happy, right? Ego is happy in this scenario because he realizes the only you that never post quotes like this on your story ever, all of a sudden started posting these quotes when he stopped talking to you. Remember, guys might be a little bit emotionally stunted. They're not idiots though. So if he knows that I've been dating and texting and talking to this girl, and the past couple of days or maybe for a week or so, I haven't talked to her, I haven't messaged her, and we haven't really contacted each other, and all of a sudden she's posting all of these Justin LeBoy quotes on her Instagram story, or for some of you who are on the older side, posting all these Facebook memes about being single, Facebook quotes about being single and how good it feels to be single. Yeah, now I know she's bothered. And now I know she's posting this because of me. When I realize that she's gonna post all this stuff on her story because of me, my ego's up. My ego's boosted. Why? Because I realize she's only posting that from a place of being bothered. And when I realize how bothered you are, I realize how much power I have over you and how much power I have over your emotions. Remember, this is a key theme, and we're going to crystallize this all at the end. Remember, I told you at the very beginning, men make a change when they realize it's a necessity in their own life to make a change in order to see a different result. So understand this. If you're doing things that actually make his ego go up and subsequently make him more happy, why would he feel it's necessary to make a change when he actually ends up feeling really good about the process of pulling away from you and doing this to you? Why? Because he triggers a response in you, right? That's abnormal. And when he sees that your response is abnormal, he realizes that you're emotionally triggered or emotionally bothered. When he realizes you're emotionally bothered, he recognizes his own level of control over you. Relationships are like war, and they're a battle of control. Everyone is fighting for control. Each person wants to keep their control and have control over someone else in some way, shape, or form. And so, especially for the men, they love to recognize control over you, especially if they've slept with you already, because that can also emphasize the fact that when he puts it down on you, when he takes control over you, that schlong goes right from in between your legs and it squirts up into your brain, and you lose brain cells and you're all discombobulated because he's like this person on earth that's so amazing that no one else can deal with. And the way he takes takes over these girls' souls, it's just different, right? And it all feeds the ego to remind him that when you gave yourself to me, you now belong to me forever. Our fourth point is something that will happen most often. Let's just imagine here that you are, this is going to look really weird, all right, drowning in quicksand. Okay? And as you're drowning in quicksand, right, you just kind of step in first with 1 foot, then with 2 feet, and then you're like, oh, this isn't even that bad. I don't even know why they call it quicksand. I'm not even sinking that quick. And you're like, look, I could literally step out. I could come in. I could step out. I could come in. I could step out. Bro, I don't know why they make such a big deal of this quicksand. And so your feet are going in little by little. You're like, sure, I could probably stay here for a minute and nothing's even going to happen to me. So you're in there, and then the quicksand's up to, it's up to like, the top of your foot there. And you're like, yo, I could still move. Like I could get out if I wanted to. And, so you stay in there because you're real confident, right? You're real confident. And your friend's just over there, it's not really a big deal. And so now the quicksand's up to your ankle. Okay. And you're like, yeah, I'll probably get out now. And you're like, wait, I'll probably get out now. Strange. I actually I can't move. I can't really jump now because, the quicksand's kind of right on my ankles there. Oh boy. How am I gonna, hey, Jane, can you come over here, Jane? Right? And now you're kind of panicking because the quicksand is getting up to your kneecaps now. And as it's getting up to your kneecaps, your friend Jane finally comes over here. And now Jane is struggling to pull you out of the quicksand because it's quite deep. You're quite deep in it. So now you're struggling and you're really trying to pull yourself out of this quicksand. And now your friend is here and she's the panicker of the friend group, okay? And so when she can't pull you out, now she's screaming. And her screaming is making you start screaming, and everyone's starting to get frustrated, and you're starting to cry, and everyone's starting to cry, and you're starting to feel bad, and you're starting to feel like you might not escape. And now the quicksand is up to your waist. And as the quicksand goes higher and higher, you begin like moving around everywhere. You start panicking, you start flailing your arms, but actually this is making you sink deeper and deeper, faster and faster and faster and faster. But that faster sinking is making you panic more and more and more. And now the quicksand is up to your neck. Okay? And until the paramedics are able to save you, let's make it a happy story. So let's say the paramedics come and save you. You eventually get saved out by the jaws of life after the quicksand is up to your eyeballs. Okay, let's not say you pass away. Okay, God forbid. So I say that to say, I want you to understand this is the same thing that happens when you begin overcompensating in your relationship when a man pulls away from you. Because the moment you sense it, see, you're a very emotional creature, meaning you're very sensitive to when you feel other people's energy changes, especially the energy of the man you're intimate with, okay? Or you're talking to or starting to build a relationship with. And so the moment you feel a slight change in his behavior or a slight change in his energy or attention, you're very aware of that. And so you immediately want to call him out on that or act on that. And because you immediately want to act on that, you start flailing your arms, right? And the more you start flailing your arms, trying to get yourself out of this situation, that's when you start overcompensating, right? You start messaging him more. You start asking him out on dates more, right? Like you're thinking, oh, maybe you're pulling away because you forgot that we are supposed to be going on dates every now and again. So maybe I'll ask you out on the dates instead. And, you mentioned the aquarium, so maybe we can go to the aquarium. I'll plan it. I'll, organize the schedule. I'll make sure that we're both free, right? And because you start doing all of this overcompensating, you end up doing the pursuing. But as you end up doing the pursuing, it's like flailing your arms, right? And starting to stress, right? And as you start flailing around more, you actually start sinking deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Because now that you're pursuing this man, not only has he pulled away from you, but the times that you do get access to him and he gets access to you is because you lean forward and now you're up in front of his face like this and you're the one pursuing him. And because you're so damn close to him, he's like, damn, I really don't have to do nothing in order to get access to this girl. She right in my damn face. Please do nothing. You have to realize men recognize when they've taken a step back from you or they're showing you less attention. And if you lose your mind when he does this, you'll be in a world of hurt. We want you to never change your behavior, whether he pulls away or whether he's in your life, especially at the beginning. Why? Because you must show men that nothing changes about your life or your happiness, whether he's in it or whether he's not. Let's get into point number 5 here. When he's MIA, he's expecting that MIA to force you to be in a position where when he comes back into your life, you're super angry. He's expecting that you're gonna call him out, right? You're gonna be so mad, so upset that why would you pull away from me? Why would you not talk to me for 2 weeks? You're gonna pretend like you didn't realize that you hadn't talked to me for 2 weeks. You're gonna pretend like you didn't realize that we were supposed to go out to Marine Land on Tuesday and you just never said anything to me? How dare you do this to me? Don't you know how much I was looking forward to spending time with you? Now, ego is up once again because he recognizes that when he's been away from you, doing his own thing, whether it be talking to other girls, whether it just be being busy at work, whether it just be hanging out with his friends, and you lose your mind after he comes back from being MIA, that anger leads to him saying, oh, you care a lot. You must really like me. Because if you didn't really like me, it wouldn't bother you so much that I went MIA for a little bit. Guys aren't dumb. They know they're coming back from being MIA. They're also expecting that if they've been laying that pipe down on you, if they've got that huge slong like they think they do, like they're the best thing since sliced bread, they're assuming that you're going to lose your mind when they come back into your life. Because they're assuming that you've been staring at the wall, watching paint dry, waiting for him to come back. Okay, that's what they're expecting. So when you give him this response, this is actually perfectly in line with what he's expecting of you because he thinks you're desperate and he thinks you're needy. Okay, so remember, we do not want to give men what they want in terms of making their ego happy. This is very bad. This is very bad. Because if a man starts to associate having a happy ego with every time he pulls away from you, right? What's going to happen is I want to do it again because you've actually made the experience of pulling away from you a positive experience in a very twisted way because you've made him feel very important by pulling away from you and not speaking to you. Because when he comes back, he actually, ironically in this weirdest way, he feels very appreciated by you because he took a step back away from you. Because when he comes back into your life, he basically gets bombarded with messages of how much you've missed him, wanted to speak to him, and how much you've been suffering emotionally because he's been absent from your life. That's not doing the thing that you think it's doing. That's not making him feel sad about the situation. That's not making him realize, oh, wow, I should stop doing this. That's actually, especially in the beginning stages, doing the complete opposite of what you're trying to show him. So what needs to happen, your response, instead of being angry, is going to be neutral. You're not going to fake like you're overjoyed, it's so amazing, so over the moon because he's been gone, and you're not going to pretend as if you're really sad or anything like that. You're just going to be like, oh, I didn't even notice. So one of the best things for you to do, if a guy sends you a message after he's disappeared on you for a couple of days or even maybe a week, when he comes back into your life, he's going to send you this message and he's going to assume that you are going to be very angry. But remember, now you're changing this pathway here and you're changing it to being neutral. Now, what's going to happen to his ego is something very interesting. His ego is going to go down because now when he comes back into your life and you're like, oh, you're back? I didn't even realize you were gone. He's going to say, this is not as fun as I imagined it to be because I come back into your life and I don't feel appreciated. I actually feel like I don't matter. He'll say, oh, my bad. My phone's been dead for the past week and I've been busy at work. I've been doing this and I've been doing that. He's going to come with his ready-made excuses, expecting you to freak out and question him. What I want you to do instead, when he comes back after this week, is I want you to respond to him and say, oh, it's been a week? I didn't even realize. That's crazy. And leave it there. That's all I want you to say. The reason I want you to do this is because this response doesn't make it seem like you're trying to make yourself look super happy, right? Because that can also be a clue into the fact that you're bothered. And it also doesn't make it seem like you've been super sad. It just makes it seem like I actually don't care about what you're doing. And I care so little about what you're doing. My focus has been on me that I actually forgot that you stopped being here. That is the most painful realization for men, especially when they've been gone from your life. And so now, because his ego has gone down because of your response to the situation, he then in turn says, wow, this was so pointless. I pulled away from her thinking this was going to ruin her life, thinking she was going to be so sad, thinking she was going to be so emotional, so distraught, on the floor, crying, teared up, only to come back. And when I came back, she didn't even recognize that I was gone. She didn't even know it's been a whole week since I disappeared on her. And they realize that the process of doing this over and over and over again will, instead of leading to you being more attached to him or more desperate for him, is more likely to lead him to being in a position where you literally just forget about him because it's been so long. Or you just start dating someone else because you literally just don't care. That if he's not going to be in your life, it's you just move on with your life and do something else. It goes back to what we discussed at the beginning of the show, which is that men don't change because you beg them to change. They change out of necessity. So when they realize that something is not working for them, when they realize that they're doing something that's pointless or that's hurting their ability to be happy or get what they want, that's when they say, oh, now it's time for me to adjust my behavior, because if I don't adjust my behavior, I'm going to lose the woman that I want. If I don't adjust my behavior, this girl might actually forget about me and move forward. If I don't adjust my behavior, I'll be the one that's single and lonely and I'll miss out on this girl. So they realize through the fact that there is a necessity to make a change. Why? Because of the results he's been seeing, then he actually has the desire to make a change. And the best part is you didn't even have to beg him to do so.